Hey guys, it's Robin, and you're listening to the Live Life Balance podcast. My heart is full knowing that you're here today, prioritizing you and your wellness. This podcast is for women looking for an authentic, supportive community to learn about wellness from all angles, and who want to just feel their best. I'll be your guide, pointing you to ideas and tools that you can experiment with to find what works for you, because we all bring different experiences and knowledge to the table. No pun intended. Health is not a one-size-fits-all. By feeling our best, we're able to show up in our purpose, and that allows us to live the most joyful life, even in the most challenging times. Together, we're going to grow by learning to align ourselves and taking some simple, actionable steps that feel right for you. We're going to talk about self-care. We'll talk about nutrition, daily toxins. We'll talk food swaps. We'll definitely be talking about mindset and reframing our thoughts because it's so important. I hope that you leave today feeling more empowered and at ease. And I hope that you can take one or two small steps to be able to create the you that you want to be. Are you ready for all the possibilities? If you said yes, say, I am ready. Now let's get into it. Hi, welcome back to Live Life Balanced. I am super excited today because today I am hitting a very small milestone, but a milestone indeed, and this is my 10th episode. I am excited to share that as I've worked through something new and as I'm building new habits around recording and interviewing and putting podcasts together, I thought today would be an appropriate day to talk about something that I've been asked quite often, which is, how do you find consistency? So first of all, there's no perfection. Consistency comes with doing little things each day. There's a quote that Tony Robbins says that I really love, and it says, it's not what you do once in a while that shapes your life, it's what you do consistently. So building consistency in whatever it is that you're doing, a new habit or perhaps a new job or a new schedule, whatever it might be, it takes some work. So a couple of the roadblocks for creating consistency. Well, first of all, what is consistency, right? Consistency is how we build habits and make them come to fruition. By being consistent and doing little things each day, we're building upon steps that we want to take in order to get to an end result, an action, a habit, whatever that looks like for you. But it can seem overwhelming if you're not set up well. And some of the problems or conflicts that people run into when they are challenges, I guess I should say, that people run into when they're building habits is that change can be hard, right? Consistency can be hard. And setting yourself up can definitely be hard. But I think a lot of those words, well, one in particular, which would be hard, is a mindset. Okay, so let's say, what if we changed our mindset and instead we said, instead of saying change can be hard, we can say, change can be exciting. Change is uncomfortable until we get through the beginning processes of change. So for most people, when we are going through a change, those little behaviors and steps and consistency help us to not feel so uneasy in that change. But if we reframed how we looked at change and we looked at it from more of an exciting standpoint, like a child, I think that would take some of that overwhelm away. Instead of saying consistency is hard, you could reframe that to consistency is challenging, but it's super rewarding, because when you do the consistent little steps, you are going to feel victorious when you get to the goal that you're trying to accomplish. So I think, again, taking that word hard out and exchanging it with perhaps challenging, but remember that it's going to be rewarding at the end of whatever the little steps are that you're doing. And then setting yourself up, some people think that looks hard, but instead of saying it looks hard, you could reframe it to that it looks like a puzzle that I have to figure out. But if you think about when you're doing a puzzle, at the end you get a beautiful landscape of whatever the picture is that you're putting together. So the setup portion is super important when you're trying to come up with consistent behaviors, but thinking about it more in terms of a puzzle and how am I going to fit these things in and where is it going to go and where are my end pieces and what's my middle going to be, and then getting again to that end result, of having that goal come to fruition is the beautiful end result of a puzzle, because now you're getting to see the benefits of whatever it is that you're putting in place. So when I was thinking about how I create habits and how I become consistent at something, I just thought it would be beneficial for some to just kind of go through what I do. Again, I am no way, shape, perfect in this area. I'm always working on consistency. I'm always working on, creating better strategies to create the habits that I want, to keep the habits consistent, because that's the key. We can do something one time very easily, but it's keeping the momentum and keeping it going in a way that doesn't feel complicated. So again, taking the word hard, complicated out and changing it to exciting, challenging, and, figuring out a puzzle. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was creating the routine that works for you. So what I'm about to tell you guys might not work for you. They're just ideas. They're just things that I have over the years kind of created to make things work for me. The first thing, though, for everybody would be to set a realistic goal. You are not going to sit down and set 20 health goals and think that you're going to accomplish them all easily, within a week's time. So I always encourage people to pick one or two things. Again, this is going to look different for everybody, but once you pick the realistic goal, I have a workshop that I do on SMART goals, and that really helps you to kind of hone in on what the goal might be, and is it something that's attainable? Is it something that you can do in a timely manner? Is it something that's measurable? So if you're interested in learning what SMART goals are, I'll drop that in the show notes so that you can understand it a little bit better. But the example I wanted to tell today was kind of what I thought about was, if I was training for a marathon, it would be super silly of me to think that I could open my front door, put my tennis shoes on, and just go run a marathon. Okay, a marathon takes training, and the little steps you take to train to be prepared for a marathon is the same idea when you're trying to implement a new goal or a new habit, if you will. How do you get there, though? So I would say, again, pick one thing that you want to shift, possibly two, and then you have to start planning, right? You can't really get anywhere without a plan. So plan small. Of course, again, you're not going to open the door and run the mile. You're going to open the door and perhaps you're going to walk the first mile. And then, there are many people that follow different running schedules so that they're prepared appropriately for the marathon in the end. So I think planning is something that has to be done to be consistent. You have to bring attention and intention to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So planning ahead, perhaps on Sunday, if your goal is to incorporate more vegetables into your week, okay, because it's something that you're not eating enough of that has good nutrient value and is beneficial for you, how are you going to make that happen? So potentially sitting down on Sunday and planning ahead so that you know how you're going to fit it in. And this can be done by using a planner or a calendar. I personally like a planner because I'm more visual. I prefer to look at a week at a time because a month to me is overwhelming. I might have monthly goals kind of set up, but I like to look week by week. It also allows me to reflect backwards and see what I've done for the week and in weeks past, especially if I get stumped. I just kind of revert back to looking at what I've done in the past. By having a schedule, and by scheduling things in, and I mean schedule everything like an appointment. If you want to read, if that is a goal of yours, you need to schedule that into your day. If it is, adding more vegetables in, that is prepping your food perhaps on Sunday and then planning out what you're going to be eating during the week, so that way you have that set in stone as you're building the habit. Will it always be this way? No. Once you get in the habit of eating more vegetables, it will just become second nature, kind of like brushing your teeth. So just again, using your planner, using your calendar, using a piece of paper that sets you up to have a successful week is very important when you're working on trying to be consistent with something. Some of the things, again, like when you're scheduling, some of the things that are popping into my mind, you schedule your movement in, you schedule your quiet time, you schedule reading if that's something important to you, you schedule your nighttime routine, as silly as that is. If you're someone that's addicted to the phone, which is a large percent of us, and we are trying to break the habit of using our phone in the morning or using our phone in the evening after a certain time, schedule that in, put it on the calendar. The more visual things are for people, the more they'll remember to do or not to do, etc. Leave yourself reminders. We all have lots and lots of things going on at the same time. And I think leaving yourself reminders by using little notes, Post-its, even set your phone alarm, put things out so that you're prepared a little bit ahead. So with those notes and Post-its, those are just things that could simply say, only checking email from, at 9, 12, 2, and 5. Because I think when it comes to work, a lot of people and clients that I work with, they're just overwhelmed because they feel like all they're doing all day long is checking emails, checking texts, communication, and then they're never getting their work done until after hours. Well, that's because we've allowed that. That's because that's how we've set our day up. If we calendar block and set our day up to where we're only checking emails at certain times, obviously there is going to be wiggle room there. But I think the best thing in a work situation to do is allow your team to know, if you have a team under you, that you're only checking your emails 4 times a day. And if it's urgent, they can call. Because again, we forget the urgency and everything seems urgent. So a phone call is definitely going to be a little more urgent than an email or a text. So I think also, as we are growing into new habits and we are changing things up to have, more balance in our life, we need to remember to put boundaries up. So boundaries for other people not to invade that time and space that you've created for yourself. When I was talking about putting things out so you're a little bit prepared until you build that habit, one of the things that comes to mind is when I first started tongue scraping and oil pulling along with brushing and flossing. Yes, I've been brushing and flossing since I was little, and once my parents instilled that habit and behavior in me, it's just been something that obviously I just get up every day and I do two times at least or 3 times a day, depending on, what my day looks like. But tongue scraping and oil pulling was new. And if I'm trying to build a habit, one of the best things to do is piggyback on another habit. So while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm flossing, I have my tongue scraper nearby, so that way it's an easy add-in. Oil pulling, you need coconut oil for this. If your coconut oil is in the kitchen, which most of us have our coconut oil in the kitchen, the chances of you making that a habit to go along with brushing and flossing and tongue scraping is going to be slim because it's not in the area. So you'd have to leave your, bathroom, you'd have to go to the kitchen, you'd have to bring it back. And so an easy fix to that would just be getting a little mason jar, putting some in, but having all the components together so that your new habit can piggyback off, another habit. So we call that anchoring. We call it adding it to an established routine. When you add something to something that's already established, it makes it a little bit easier rather than starting from scratch. Some other examples of that would be, if you want to read when you go to bed at night, then your book should be on your nightstand. That way, as you're getting into bed, it's a reminder, right, that you're going to read a chapter a night or whatever it is that you choose to set up for yourself. But if you're getting in bed with your phone and you start scrolling, even if that book's next to you, the chances of you putting your phone down to read the book, it gets a little bit gray. So I would say leave your phone somewhere else as you're getting into bed. If that's your goal, is to read when you're in bed instead of scrolling, then you shouldn't have your phone close, by. You should have it at a distance, so that way you have that separation. But reminding your body that when you're getting into bed, reading is coming, is also setting your body up for a familiar feeling. Another one I was thinking of is supplements. If you are taking certain supplements, and some have to be mixed in water and some have to be maybe taken 30 minutes before food or whatever your system looks like, if you have one, it's again setting yourself up for the morning. If you have to take something 30 minutes before you eat, if you're taking, I don't know, let's just say a probiotic, and the instructions are, take this 30 minutes before you eat, maybe you should put that in the bathroom so then in the morning you can take it right away, or have it on your nightstand so you take it right when you wake up, so that you're not then having to get up and search around for it. But then the ones to be taken with your meals, you should have those obviously like in the kitchen area, so that way you're programming yourself to create the habit of getting those supplements in, as you're making breakfast or your warm tea in the morning, or your hot beverage, whatever it is that you choose to do in the morning. Again, planning ahead. Where are you going to fit in the little steps that you need to do in order to create a new habit? What can you piggyback off of or add to a current routine? And then starting to think about obstacles, because we are all going to have obstacles that pop up. And I think if we think ahead and we plan for some of the obstacles, it just makes things a little bit easier, because we're being more intentional about what we will do if a situation arises. So a couple of them that I was thinking through is not having support. When you're trying to create a new habit, whether that's eating differently, whether that's moving differently, whatever it might be, not having support makes it really hard. So how do you overcome that? You find a buddy. You let your family or your husband or your partner know what it is that you're doing, because people want to support people. But if we don't talk about what we're doing, they wouldn't even know that we would need support or how we would need the support. So I think having communication with the people that are close by you, or finding an accountability partner or a buddy that you can kind of go over things to help keep you accountable, I think is a really good way to overcome that obstacle. Joining a group of women, if you're trying to decrease the amount of sugar that you eat, to balance your blood sugar and to level out your body a little bit and get your metabolic systems working better, maybe joining a group of other women who are interested in the same thing, so that way you guys can support each other as you're working through the changes. Because again, change might feel hard, but if you turn it into a group situation, it gets a little bit exciting because you have other people doing it with you. And again, this could be your spouse, it could be your family in general, it could be a group of women, but just seeking out people that want something similar. Another obstacle that I hear a lot is time management. I don't know how to fit all of this in. And so again, taking one small shift at a time is going to cut down on the overwhelm of how am I going to fit all of this in. And you just tackle one thing at a time. And again, by piggybacking off of a current routine, or, building it into your calendar, making it present for you to see on a daily basis, is going to help you get to that point. Money. People talk about, well, I don't have the money to spend to buy, this kind of food, or I don't have the money to join a gym, or I don't have the money to, I think money is an obstacle that can be easily overcome just by, again, reframing the way you're thinking about things. If you need to add more movement in, no one is saying that you need to go to a gym. You can simply walk your neighborhood. You can do things at home. I mean, YouTube's full of free videos. So there's always ways to overcome those little obstacles. As far as eating goes, if you think that eating healthy is expensive, we can definitely have that conversation another day, but you just replace things. So instead of buying 4 bags of, processed chips, you're going to replace that with buying fruits and vegetables from, the produce section. So there's swapping that goes on there to kind of balance that out. And I think really the biggest obstacle that I find people have is just self-doubt. I'm not going to be able to do it. Or you do it for a couple of days really well, and then you have an off day and you just give up because you doubt the fact that you'll be able to create the change that you want to create. And so with that, that's giving ourselves grace. We're never going to have perfection. So if you have a really nice calendar built and one morning goes awry and you don't get your quiet time in, or you don't, have the breakfast that you planned on having, or you don't, get your kids off in a way that makes you feel good, whatever it is, we've got to be able to give ourselves some grace, because we all are human and we are going to have human experiences that throw us off. And so what I say to that all the time is, when you have a morning like that, or when something goes awry, after the situation ends, just sit down and have a moment and reflect. Reflect on what happened, reflect on why that was the way that it went, and see what you can do to tweak things so that maybe the next day it doesn't happen, or maybe the next, time during the day, if it happens multiple times during the day, you change that. So again, I think committing to something for at least 30 to 60 days gives you the opportunity to have what I call missteps, giving yourself grace, finding ways around those obstacles, and really building a solid habit. When you build that solid habit, and I always refer to brushing teeth because nobody really thinks about brushing their teeth. It's not something that you say, I have to go brush my teeth. It's an automatic behavior. It's like getting dressed. You don't have to build in getting dressed, although you might want to if you're someone who struggles to find the time to get dressed because you've got a lot of little ones or whatever. Most of us, though, just get up, we get showered, we get dressed, we brush our teeth, and then we go about our day. So that's what's going to happen as you build these other habits. They're just going to become part of your day. You're not going to think about oil pulling and scraping your tongue anymore. You're not going to think about taking those supplements. You're not going to think about building a healthy breakfast. They're just things that are going to naturally fall into place. As you are building the habits, I think it is really important to track what you're doing, to track the new habits, because I think seeing progress gives huge motivation to keep going. I created a habit tracker for people who are trying to create new habits, and the clients that have used it find it very successful because they're able to jot down whatever the new habits are. They're able to kind of check off when they've done it, when they've not, have some reflection time. So in the show notes, I'll drop down if you guys are interested in seeing what that's all about. But you can do it simply on a piece of paper. You can use your calendar and just kind of check off as you go through your day, all of the things that you've done. Everybody's different, so you have to learn what works for you. I personally like the habit tracker when it's a brand new habit because it allows me to visually see that that's what I'm working on for the week. But then I also love to check things off in my planner because it makes me feel accomplished. And the more accomplished I feel, the more I'm going to keep doing those things and putting those actions into place. And lastly, we forget to celebrate. We need to celebrate all the little wins. We need to celebrate every day that we do whatever it is we say we're going to do. If we're setting up a habit, again, I'm going to just use oil pulling with brushing teeth. But if Monday you remember to do it and you've set yourself up nicely to where it's not really a thought, celebrate yourself. If you've done it for a whole week, celebrate, because that means that you're that much closer to it becoming a habit. 1 week, 2 weeks, 30 days, you should really be coming into it being a natural process in your morning routine. So again, I know these are little things and everybody's habits are going to be different, but I really truly feel like when we celebrate the wins, that's how we get growth, right? We have little steps plus little steps. It creates a new habit, creates a new you, and creates the growth in which you're looking for when you start out planning to create a new habit, right? Some of the other things when we're trying to create a new habit, or be more consistent, I guess I should say. So being more consistent in creating, that will help you create your new habit or routine or whatever it is you're trying to create, is conquering, making sure that you have good sleep, right? You've got to have good sleep in order to be thinking straight the next day, in order to remember, that these are the things that are priority for you. If you're lacking sleep, your brain just doesn't function as well. Managing your stress. If you have super stressful days and you're trying to build in a habit of, having a better breakfast or lunch or dinner or whatever it is, if you're under a lot of stress, it's hard to do the things in which you want to do. So having tools to combat some of that stress and to come into your mornings or your afternoons, your evenings in a different way so that you can show up for yourself calmer. Of course, I'm always going to say eating foods that are whole foods, that boost your memory, boost your focus, make sure you're moving, and then again, make sure to celebrate your wins. I hope today, you've heard and you've really heard that creating consistency in building habits is what actually creates the habit. So we want a new habit. We make the steps. We have to be consistent in what we do. If you found today to be helpful, if you think that creating a routine, using the plan, having reminders, any of those things stood out to you, I would love to hear from you to see what works for you. And I would also just love to celebrate your wins. So if you're creating a new habit and you've done something and you would love to share it with us or share it with me, please DM me. If you think this episode would be good for somebody that you know or somebody that maybe you want to have as an accountability coach, please forward this episode on to them. And until then, I really wish you well. I hope that you take a little time today to create just one new habit and some steps that you feel you can do in order to get there, and what you can do to be consistent. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
I loved being here with you today. I hope that you got something from today's mini episode. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. Drop a comment below, and if you feel led to, download this episode and share it with someone that you love that needs to hear this message. To stay connected, check out my Instagram and Facebook pages at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Join my newsletter, my blog, or even opt in for my free junk food cleanse sheet at my website, which is www.livelifebalancedwithrobin. And if you're looking to work one-on-one with someone on your health journey, check out my services page on my website too. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. It truly means a lot that you are allowing me to be on your wellness journey with you. Until next time, find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to happen.